Okay, bravo, bravo.
Thank
It's
you.
it's funny how much annoyance works well for comedy. It's just people annoying each other, and somebody's going to laugh at their misfortune, right?
It's funny. I have my younger brother. He's a captain at the Miami Beach Police Department, right? And I have a lot of friends that are police officers, right? And I showed it to a couple of police officer friends or former police officers, and I said that's the same shit people talk about in Stakeout. They're always talking crap like that. So
it reminds me. I'll date myself, but one of my favorite cop shows of all times is Barney Miller.
I love Barney Miller. I love
the drudgery and the boredom, right? The cynicism.
Yeah, it's funny that now that you say Barney Miller, he had the gray hair with the stuff with the thick mustache. And it's funny because I have this beard and I shaved it off for another project that I had to do. And I left the mustache. And then I had to, once I finished this one, I had to trim the mustache and dye my hair for another project I was doing. But Federico didn't know how I was going to look. But when he drew the storyboards, he drew it just like that. And he drew it exactly how I ended up being without even knowing it, you know? So it's funny because if you notice I had no beard and I had a mustache, but that's just the way he and it kind of played out just the way the storyboard was automatically, unplanned.
Yeah, well, add soothsayer to his talents.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't put it past him.
So after all that time in the car together, which one of you would you say is in real life the more obstinate?
The more obstinate, I can't say Federico is probably, probably me. I'm a hard head and stuff like that, you know. Federico's such a, I'm going to tell you that he's such a down to earth, genuinely, I can't even say it enough, genuinely nice guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a genuine guy. People, they see Furio and they see all this stuff on television and stuff like that. And I guess they might have, sometimes you see actors and you see them in character and then you think that's how they're going to be and stuff like that. And then some actors, are bad guys in film and they're bad guys in real life. It's just the way it is, But Federico is just such a humble, genuine guy with everyone and anybody. It's like there's no like cross time for him. So as late as we were, and again, I tell you, I mean, he had to drive, almost 3 hours to get to where we were at. So, we're 3 hours away when we were filming, and he spent so much time pre-production, so much time that night. I mean, literally the sun was coming up and we were wrapping up, right? And post-production, he spent so much time putting into this film his fingerprints, his DNA. He put that much love and attention to this film, which, like, again, to me, it's like it's an honor to me because I wrote this and he put this much attention to something that I put together. That gives me a level of like, wow, this guy really respects not only the work that he's doing, but he's respecting my work, which I'm honored. You know what I'm saying? So it's what a great guy. You know what I'm saying? I can't even say enough words about him,
Yes. Well, you picked some good words to describe it. An acting teacher of mine told me long ago, when you're still immediately in awe of anybody that celebrity wise, he said, "The bigger they are, the bigger they are."
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great quote. Yeah, that is a great quote. And I gotta tell you, look, I've been really fortunate. Look, I'm retired Army. I've got 26 years in the Army. I spent a year and a half in combat in Iraq. And when I came back from Iraq, I didn't come back the same way I left, right? So I was, I got medically retired in 2018, PTSD and all that stuff. And I had a hard time when I came back from Iraq. And then on a whim, just one of those things on a whim, I saw this thing. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life and that kind of stuff. And I saw this thing for acting at Backstage Talk. I said, let me try this acting thing. And I went to my first audition, I got my first role. I went to my second audition, I got my first. In my first year acting, I did over 16 film projects and over 15 commercials. So I was doing something right, but I didn't know what that was because I felt like, all right, I'm getting the work, I'm doing the stuff, I'm doing something right, but I felt like a phony because I don't feel like I earned, I didn't study acting, I didn't study any of that stuff. So I felt like there was something missing, right? So I went and I signed up for an acting class, and I was fortunate enough to go, and I took the title of the class was, auditioning, how to audition. I didn't have a problem with auditioning, but it was a class with Chaz Palminteri, all right, who wrote A Bronx Tale. And I thought, wow, I love that movie. Let me go see what I can learn. And I'm so glad I took that class, because one of the interesting things is that when I went there, it was 3-day class. The middle day, I couldn't go because I was working. So I only went to 2 of the days. But the big takeaway from that class for me is that he said, look, you have to create your own opportunities, and you have to be present. You have to show up where the people are, where the industry is. You need to be seen. You need to network. You need to be present. Otherwise, you're not being in a place where those opportunities can come to me. And that was a really, really telling thing. So, but a month after that, long story short, I went to a film festival. I ran into Joyce DeWitt from Three's Company, and I joked with her. I took a picture with her. I joked with her. I said, hey, we should do Three's Company too. And then that night, we had a good laugh about it, but that night, all I could think about was, hey, that's not a bad idea. That weekend, I wrote my first play. I wrote it that weekend. 3 weeks later, after I met Joyce DeWitt, I submitted it to the New York Winterfest Theater Festival, and it got picked up. And then in January of 2020, right before the COVID hit, we did 3 sold-out shows off Broadway with my first play that I ever wrote. And Richard Klein, who played Larry in Three's Company, came to my opening night. We became incredible friends, right? So I've been very fortunate to be able to do all the stuff that I've been able to do in 3.5 years. I've done over 40 film projects. I've done a ton of commercials. But most important, I found a knack for writing. I've been doing a lot of writing. A lot of the stuff has been getting produced. But I also found an outlet that has taken me away from that mindset when I came back from Iraq. And it's been very therapeutic for me. It's been one of those things that I'm just so grateful that I don't have those bad days or those bad moments that I used to have, that I'm able to channel some very, very creative and positive an outlet for me that has been, not just that I'm putting it out there, but it's also been getting accepted. Federico, like I said, I wrote The Making the Trick with a friend of mine, Oz Gomez, and that was our first feature film. And I had some incredible actors. It was produced. We're in post-production now. I wrote a thing called The Jungle King that Federico loved it. He's getting involved. Armand Asante is getting involved with it. So, here I am, I'm doing all these things that I never imagined I was going to be able to do. And that was just me going on a whim. So I got to tell you, I'm grateful for every second of it. And I'm just, like I said, I am at awe at the people who I'm meeting, and the people who are elevating towards or gravitating towards the work that I'm doing. And that's a humbling feeling,
Yes, absolutely. It's really kind of awesome when you realize that the arts, its purpose, one of its larger purposes, is to make life worth living.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And your background was very interesting to me. A lot of veterans in my family. I almost chose that career for myself. Mm-hmm. But you come from an artistic family as well, though, don't you?
Yeah, well, yes. In case you didn't know it, I'm Latino, right? And
I suspected.
Yeah, a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So my parents came from Cuba in 1962. They landed from Cuba on the 4th of July in 1962. So when my mom and my grandmother and my aunt were here, they saw the fireworks. They thought they were celebrating their arrival here to the United States. It's incredible stuff. But my grandfather, Jorge Raúl Guerrero, was one of the biggest actors in Cuba. This was back in the times of the 20s, 30s, when before television there was radio. You had Orson Welles was the radio guy here in the United States. Well, my grandfather was like the Orson Welles of Cuba. He had an incredible voice. He was a poet. He was a stage actor. He was a radio actor. And then television came about, and he was television. He did all that stuff. But I never had that bug. I never had that interest to do it. It was never my thing, But I guess in 2018, like I said, I came back, and when I was medically retired in 2015, I was just fumbling around with my life for those 3 years. And then in 2018, my mother passed away. And then when my mother passed away, she passed away. You know, it was a rough moment for me because I was going through a lot of stuff, and that's when I just needed an outlet, and I saw that, and I don't know why I grasped for it, and I think something was calling me to. You know, I'm gonna get a little emotional now because I think something was calling me. Something I don't know if that was meant to do or something that was greater than me was calling me into to do that, and I didn't know why I wanted to do it, but I said, let me just try this, you know? And it's funny because the first audition that I went to, I knew I wasn't going to get it because it was for a 1940s Southern racist, right? Now, I'm Latino. So I look at my daughter and I was really nervous. I said, you know what? Let me go do this just so that I can learn what the process is because I have nothing to lose, right? So I went, we drove down to Washington, D.C., I did my best Southern drawl. I went in there. I did I rehearsed my lines. I went in there and I left. I got a call and they said, "Hey, we want to offer you the role." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, jeez. They must be in real short supply of racists nowadays." or I'm good, or I'm good. One of the two. I don't know.
Maybe the authentic Southerners, they said, their accent's a little off. You know,
yeah. Well, I got a real Southern accent, a little south of the border.
Way south, right? Oh, that's terrific. Yeah. You know, it does seem that people who really do succeed in this business, there is a little twist of fate involved. Breaks from strange, unlikely places and all that.
Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. I got kind of like my perspective is this. Look, I am enjoying the hell out of this ride, right? I feel very, very blessed to be doing what I'm doing. But in the same token, the thing that I feel more blessed about is that I'm able to help other people do what I'm doing. You know, I think when I watch, you know, everything that I do and everywhere I've gone and I've met people. And so when I say I'm going to do this project, and I go and I bring them along. And I say, hey, I'm gonna cast you in this, or I'm gonna put you in this, and I give these opportunities to these people. It makes me feel good that I gave this guy his first shot at his you know, we were doing background acting, and now I got him doing a lead in a project, and I got one, you know, several people who've done 4 or 5 projects with me, stage projects, film projects, and people who are just starting out that I walk with them and I talk to them and I walk them through the process of this is how you start here, you do this. And just to watch them flourish and watch them get work and get in there. And it, to me, their success is my success because it makes me feel good that the blessing, that I have so much blessing that I can be a blessing to. And that to me is the most fulfilling part of what I'm doing right now. You know, so.
It's nice to hear some, I wouldn't say most, but some people, actors, whatnot, they create a very competitive atmosphere. And to me, that's completely antithetical for the job at hand. You're supposed to be on the same team, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, I'm fortunate enough to have been surrounded with those kinds of people who are nurturing. For example, when Richard Klein came to my opening night, we became really, really good. He became my mentor. I would go to acting classes with him. He not just me, he has acting classes that he genuinely spends his time to take and nurture his students, and he's just so committed to his students that go to his classes.
Did you see him in the audience when you're doing the show, and did it throw you off to see Larry from Three's Company sitting there watching you?
I didn't see him. I knew he was there because he told me he was gonna be there, and it was so dark. It was a live performance, live stage performance, and I didn't see it, but after the show was over, he came up to me. He says, "Did you hear they cracking up at the court scene?" And then the thing is, he texts me. He says, "Robert, the court scene alone was worth the price of admission." And I kind of took that like, well, he got in for free. You know, I don't know. It was like I was good, or I don't know, but it was good.
Oh, that's terrific. I had Joyce Randolph not that long ago watching, sitting like right in the front row, staring at me from the Honeymooners, you know.
Oh yeah. Did they throw you off?
A little bit. I mean, I heard a rumor that she might be coming, but it's Trixie, you know what?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Talk about a legend, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So on that collaborative note, let me ask you this: Were you guys? Was there a lot of creative license with your writing? Were you guys tempted to just keep shooting until the sun came up? Or
well, here's the thing. Federico was directing it. So once I hand him the script and he said he's going to direct it, it's his baby. Yeah. I produced it with my partner, Oz Gomez, Outhouse Production Films, and we've got projects going that we're doing and stuff like that. But once it's in his hand, it's his work of art. So every single shot, every single take, every single angle, every single decision was his on set on how he wanted to do it. But he's so easy to work with that, listen, I wrote the thing. I was so tired. I forgot in one of the scenes, I forgot one of my, and I said it like 3, 4, 5 times already, but I was so tired. We had just finished doing a 3-day shoot. We finished at 11 o'clock, the other short, and then we started shooting this one we finished at 9 o'clock and we started the other one at 11 p.m. So I was dead tired, and I'm cracking up forgetting my lines, right? And I wrote the damn thing, you know, and he's laughing, and so we're cracking up. And those outtakes of just us laughing is worth watching in itself, you know. But he put it all together, and collaboratively, you know, you have to, you know, give way to the person who's going to take that and respect the work that they're going to be doing. You know, obviously, you trust that they're going to put it together. He did. I think he did a magnificent job with it. But it was easy to work with him and everyone else. Look, Mateo Toro is our cinematographer. And remember how I told you my joy in helping other people develop, right? Mateo Toro, I met him when we were shooting. We shot the Making the Trick in Reading, Pennsylvania, right? And Reading, Pennsylvania is an outskirts 2.5 hours from New York City. No one films in Reading except I've done 6 projects there already, right? But when we were doing the Making the Trick, I'm talking to our caterer, and she introduced me to this one guy. He's a photographer there, Mateo Toro, right? And I said, hey, why don't you do photography at our production? You could be our set photographer. That was his opportunity. He comes in and he does the photography, incredible pictures. He did some incredible pictures. But then I find out that he does videography and wedding videos and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I said, listen, well, I got a music video that we're going to be doing. I had just directed a Brenda K. Starr music video. I said, I got another artist named Luis Damon. We're going to do his video. Would you like to be the cinematographer? He said, sure. So I gave him an opportunity. Did a magnificent job. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I said, listen, we've got this other film. Why don't I get you to be cinematographer? We got the Carmelata, the Lennon Gutierrez story. Would you like to do that? He said, sure, right? So I got him in. And then all of a sudden, Federico said he wants to do things. He had just binged during the whole, he's a young guy. He had just binged all of The Sopranos during COVID-19. He's never seen The Sopranos. He's, like I say, he's 20-something years old. He saw all the, and then all of a sudden I said, oh, by the way, Federico's going to do this. You want to be this? He says, what? And he gets to work with Federico on this project. So he was a cinematographer on this. And now my joy is that I'm giving him all these opportunities to do these things. The next thing I want to do is I want to see maybe he can direct the film for me, you know? Yes. And that's a good, but he's such a talent. And what I told him is that being in Reading, Pennsylvania, it's not that there's a lack of talent there. There's just a lack of opportunity. Sure. But if you can bring the opportunity to the people who have the talent, they'll gravitate, they'll do the work. And I'm just grateful to be able to be in the right place at the right time, that I can provide that opportunity for someone who has the talent to be able to shine, you know?
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I'm going to move us along because we're running short on time. I want to get this in and then give Cindy a final chime in here. Right. Our friend Chris from Overly Honest Movie Reviews has a comment that I want to make sure everybody on the replay as well gets to hear. It's worth repeating. Okay. This was so much fun. This is begging for a feature film. For what it's worth, I prefer the 1932 Scarface to either. I love all 3. I loved how simple the story was. but how deep it actually was. All involved deserve a big round of applause.
Well, thank you, Tom. I thank you so much. I don't know if you can hear me, but thank you. That means a lot. I love that review. And you know what? You never know. A feature can definitely come out of it because the chemistry there was incredible. And you never know. You never know what can come out of it. Yeah, absolutely.
I like to see if those guys go out for waffles together at the end of their shift.
or donuts. I'm hungry.
Mindy, would you take us home,
So I
please?
guess I get the final wrap. I've been absolutely silent during this only because of the fact that I think I had told you, and I know Federico knows, he asked me to screen your movie for my bigger film festival. This is the smaller one, mine is the 50 some odd films. And so I just wanted to say that obviously I really don't have anything to say because I have about 60 questions for the both of you.
You're going to save them.
The one thing I did want to ask real quickly before we wrap it up is obviously everybody knows how to watch it again at Art is Alive, but I want to remind everybody of how I found you in the first place. I'm media, so of course we went to SopranoCon. So the one question I just wanted to quickly ask was, you shot it originally to premiere it at SopranoCon, is that right?
No, again, and this is where, this is where the stars align, okay? I wrote that skit last year, and it was just sitting as a skit in my files.
Okay.
I was going through some stuff, and I found it, and I sent it to Federico, and he thought it was funny. He said, "We got to shoot it." So then we shot it. While we're shooting, then we find out that, at least I find out that there's going to be the SopranoCon coming on.
Okay.
And there was not only the SopranoCon, there was going to be the Mob Movie Awards, which is an award to determine which is the best mob movie.
Right.
So I told Federico, I said, man, you couldn't plan it this well because that's the premise of the short film. And here it is. We got to screen it at the Mob Movie Awards, which is an award that's going to determine what the best mob movie is. And then we're here arguing about the Scarface, the Godfather, and the Irishman. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, we didn't plan it that way, but it was a perfect fit. And again, the stars align, and sometimes fate has its own road in front of it that you just got to take. And it just worked itself out. I couldn't have planned that,
Absolutely.
In the feature, you can have time for Paul Muni, right?
Well, you never know. You never know.
And you were absolutely target on. I don't want to be remiss in not mentioning this, and I will at the festival as well. The very first time that we actually sat down, we had dinner with Federico and Carl, of course. And I have to reiterate what you've said. I have not met someone that grounded or genuine in the industry in a while now. I mean, it's very refreshing to see someone who greets everyone, who has a vested interest, who's just genuinely very gentlemanly, very professional, very easy to work with. Hugely. Absolutely. So if you guys get a chance to support his efforts, you need to do so. In fact, we just watched The Brooklyn Banker the other night together. So I'm like, we're big fans now, which is great. And now, of course, we have someone new to adore. So all I can say is I'm excited and ecstatic to be able to screen you at my festival. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Please tell Federico that we completely understand, and thank you. Thank you for relaying the message, of course. And then I'll be in touch with all the final details because I have some goodies for you folks. And now we have Harvey Korman coming up, the Harvey Korman screening, and Chris Korman.
Wow.
That's our finisher off, is Chris Korman and Harvey Korman. So give us a couple minutes to get together and we'll be going on the next one.
Hope to see you there, gents. A real pleasure. Huh?
Thank you,
everybody. Have a good night.